You're listening to Customer Growth Sessions, presented by Intergrowth, where we talk through strategies to help up-and-coming e-commerce businesses bring in more customers. I'm your host, Pat Ahern. Let's jump in.
Hey listeners, welcome back to the latest episode of Customer Growth Sessions. Today, I want to talk about a topic that comes up very regularly in conversations that I'll have with clients or potential clients, and that is goals and specific strategies behind blogging as a tool to acquire customers for your business. So let's call this episode Customer Acquisition Content. Now, one of the common mistakes that I'll see brands making when they're investing in content for their site. So think whether it's YouTube videos, whether it is blog articles for their site, you name it. I see a lot of brands that take on this exact same strategy, which is they'll identify a specific theme for either the month, the quarter, or the year, and they'll have a specific cadence they're looking to meet. That cadence may be that they're going to publish 3 blog articles every month that relate to this specific theme. It may be that they're going to publish 30 articles per month that relate to this specific theme. But the overarching trend is, hey, we have a theme, we're going to write about it, or we're going to create video content about it under this specific schedule, and we believe that this is going to grow the business. And if you are rolling out that strategy specifically for social media content, so think like LinkedIn, Twitter, Meta, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, any of those types of channels, that strategy can work great. That strategy does not work for SEO. So what I want to talk through is the only 3 types of content that you should be creating if you're looking to acquire customers from search engines like Google. So the reality is, if you are creating content with the goal of acquiring customers from search engines, there are only 3 types of content you should be creating: awareness content, sales-centric content, and thought leadership content. Today, we're going to talk through what each of those pieces of content actually look like and give you a couple tangible examples of how you can approach this for your business. For ease of reference, we're going to look at just a sample company. I'm picking razor blades because it's an example I love to use. So let's say that I'm running a company, it's called Pat's Razor Blades. We're going to talk through these 3 different types of content that I would be creating for Pat's Razor Blades so that you can ultimately take the same approach for your e-com business and use this to scale the hell out of your business. So the first type of content that we're going to be creating for Pat's Razor Blades is what I refer to as awareness content. This is going to be content that drives the lion's share of the traffic to your website from search engines, just like Google. So the goal of this type of content is really to bring mindshare to your brand from the people that are looking to educate themselves about your product or about your industry. This is the type of content you're creating well beyond people are looking into your specific product versus a competitor. This is really just putting your brand on the map when consumers are looking to educate themselves before making a purchase, far before making a purchase, particularly when they are trying to better understand their specific problems and how they can go about solving those potential problems. So Pat's Razor Blades, if I'm sitting down and building out my content calendar, one of the things I'm going to bake into that content calendar, especially if I don't get a lot of visibility for my site today, is awareness content so that I can become a front of mind brand for the people that are most likely to buy from me. So a couple examples that I might add onto my content calendar if I'm focusing on this awareness content is things like, how often do razor blades last for? Why do I have bumps on my face after shaving? Anything along those lines that indicate that someone has a problem, they're trying to research a solution, and they're trying to really just better understand your industry at large. So really good context I like to share in terms of awareness content. Most of these articles are not going to generate sales for your business. If you approach it from that mindset, the content's going to fail because that's not the goal that this content achieves. What this content does is it helps you to become front of mind so that a month, 2 months, a year down the road, when your customer is ready to buy a razor blade, your brand comes to mind first for them, and they're the one that actually buys from you. The secondary element that comes into play with awareness content is for those that constantly want to better inform themselves about your industry. Getting people to your site from awareness content allows you to turn them into email subscribers so that you can nurture them and eventually sell to them when they're actually ready to buy from you. So someone who's trying to understand why they have bumps on their face after they shave might not be looking to buy a razor blade today. But if you can hook them in by getting them to subscribe to your email newsletter after they read the article explaining why they have bumps after they shave, you open up the doors to be able to market to them over time, to be able to send them offers, to be able to reach out to them on their birthday and offer them a special discount, and ultimately sell to them when they are ready to pull out their credit card. So really good way to look at this. Awareness content is essential in terms of building mindshare, in terms of building your email subscriber base, getting people to take those micro actions before they're ready to pull out their credit card. The other benefit that comes into play is the SEO side of things. So creating this educational content for your consumer base opens up the doors for you to get much more valuable pages on your site to both A, rank better, and B, to drive people from those awareness content articles to more valuable sections on your site. We're going to get into the second grouping of that in a moment. But as you create more of this awareness content, what you're really doing is you're opening the doors for other bloggers who are in your space to find that type of content on Google, link to it, or share it on social media as resources for their readers and for their followers, thus further boosting your visibility. So awareness content, think of this as really your brand awareness play. Goal here is get far more people to your site for qualified themes that indicate that they have a problem in your industry that needs diagnosing. Look for it as a tool to drive email subscribers to your site, and look at it as a tool to create all these assets that are then going to be reshared by A, your existing customers, and B, in some cases, even your industry competitors, as they look to create resources and share valuable resources with their reader base. Second type of content that we're going to talk about is sales-centric content. Now, sales-centric content, I like to break it into two groupings in particular: revenue creators and revenue preservers. We're going to talk about each of these subfacets, but let's start out with revenue creators. Revenue creators are going to be the content pieces that turn those interested in buying a product from you into actual customers for your business. So for my razor blades company, a really great example of a revenue creator piece of content would be creating a razor blade buying guide. So in that guide, I might break down what are the specific questions that someone looking to buy a razor blade should ask themselves in order to decide which razor blade is right for them. It might break down things such as how sensitive is your skin? And based on their answer, we can either point them to option A or option B. Now, that's not going to necessarily always be us. Maybe in some cases, we recommend they go to a competitor instead who is better positioned to help them with that specific pain point. But we are, even if we recommend a competitor, even just being more transparent to our reader base, better positioning what we're great at and what we're not great at, and better cementing our position in the market for those people that are most qualified to benefit from working with us. So the razor blade buying guide is one phenomenal example. This is something I recommend to nearly every e-commerce brand we work with, is talk about things like what are the common questions that people ask before they're ready to buy from you. Another really great example that is definitely heavily debated in every industry and every client that we work with is creating comparison content. So if you have 5 different razor blade competitors, you can write an article that compares yourself to every one of those razor blade competitors. Now, the reality is most businesses that do that are going to list themselves as the quote unquote objective best option, no matter who you are. That content flops at the end of the day because consumers can see through that. They can see that you're not always going to be the best solution. If you take a more honest angle with it and you instead say, here's these 5 competitors, competitor A is exceptional at this, competitor B is exceptional at this. Oh, and by the way, once you get into yourself in that grouping, here's what we're exceptional at. And if you have these specific problems, you should go to us. If you have these other problems, you should go to these other competitors. That's a very genuine piece of content that helps your readers and turns the right people into customers at the end of the day. So the second type of sales-centric content is going to be revenue preservers. Revenue preservers are going to be the types of content pieces that you create to keep existing customers happy and help generate repeat purchases. So really great example for my razor blade example. If I'm selling razor blades, there are going to be a certain amount of people that are Googling all sorts of searches related to specific questions that they have about my razor blades, specific issues that they encounter with my razor blades. One really great example that I would probably add into my editorial calendar would be, what are the signs that it's time to replace your Pat's razor blade? Giving all sorts of indicators that, hey, this razor blade is getting to the point where you may actually nick yourself if you use this razor blade much longer. If you see signs A, B, or C, it's time for you to replace that. Really good source of ideation for this. It could be talking to your sales team, talking to your customer service team, and seeing what are the specific questions or concerns that people are sharing. If you have reviews on your business website, if you have reviews on your Amazon profile, look at these. Look to see what are the angry reviews that people are leaving. Are any of those reviews the types of things that you look at and say, well, that's annoying. Customers just had to do this particular thing and then they wouldn't have had this issue. Great. You just found your perfect piece of content. And by the way, when you create that piece of content, you can then share it with all those people that left the negative reviews and potentially turn quite a few of those negative reviews into really positive reviews. So Revenue Preserver's really phenomenal tool, not to acquire new customers, but you are going to have many of your existing customers who perhaps had a great first experience, or maybe are halfway through their first experience with your product, going to Google and typing in insert brand name plus specific question or specific use case. Being the one that's able to show up with a really great piece of content that helps that person out is going to be essential for getting them to make sure that they have a great experience with your product the first time around and turn them into someone who's much more likely to A, make repeat purchases down the road, and B, recommend your product to their friends and family that have that exact same problem. Now, sales-centric content is extremely powerful. That being said, it has its limitations. The biggest downside that you're going to see of sales-centric content is the majority of people that are looking to make a purchase from you that aren't aware of your brand already are not going to find your sales-centric content and turn into customers for the first time from that content. Here's why. Let's say we look at the razor blade buying guide. This is perhaps the best opportunity in terms of sales-centric content for you to get people to your site that have never heard of your brand. The downside is every other razor blade brand out there is going to write a very similar piece of content, talking about what are the pros and cons of different razor blades, what questions should you be asking. So ranking for that specific theme, razor blade buying guide, buying advice for razor blades, what to ask when buying razor blades, you name it. There's going to be so much content about those themes because there is so much value behind every single reader of those articles. You're also likely going to see that if you go to a search engine like Google, there's probably going to be quite a few ads that are popping up for those types of queries because there is so much value in bringing a reader to your site who is typing in that phrase that people are willing to pay big money and invest a lot of money into ranking for that theme, whether it's organically through SEO or whether it's through paid ads like Google ads. So your razor blade buying guide, it's a really valuable resource for your brand, but you're likely not going to get people to discover your brand from search engines through this piece of content. Similarly, let's say we look at more so the extreme case of the revenue preserver content, where you have someone searching for things like, what are the signs that it's time to replace my past razor blade? By definition, if they're searching for that theme, they've likely already bought from you or at least been gifted their product from you. So they're not going to be a new customer. They're going to have the potential to be a repeat customer. Sales-centric content is invaluable for your brand. Sales-centric content is not how you introduce people to your brand or get them to make their first purchase. The strategy that works extremely well for our team and that we roll out for nearly every client we work with is we instead put a 1-2 punch into play with awareness content and sales-centric content. So awareness content, again, really great tool for getting people to your website. The downside is you're not going to get many direct sales from it. What you can do instead is in your awareness content, you can include all sorts of calls to action where you link out to all sorts of different sales-centric content. In your article about why do I get bumps on my face, let's say if I shave, you can include a link to your razor blade buying guide and say, hey, if you're dealing with this specific issue, here's likely why this is going on. And by the way, check out our razor blade buying guide. We offer granular advice about what types of razor blades you should be buying in particular if you're dealing with this issue. So you can then leverage your awareness content to drive sales by sending people to your sales-centric content. The second thing that comes into play is the indirect way that you drive sales through that. So remember with the razor blade buying guide example, how I mentioned that it's really difficult to get that content to rank in Google because there are so many people that want to rank for that theme that are willing to invest big money into ranking for it. One of the benefits that we have with SEO is if we can create content that gets visibility from qualified readers through search engines that spend significant amount of time reading that article, spending time on your site, link to that content, or share it via their social media channels, that sends really strong signals to Google that you're providing a great user experience. And then from there, that added trust that we earn, let's say, from search engines can then be leveraged to help these sales-centric pages to rank higher on Google. One of the big things that we can do in particular is if we include that link to our sales-centric content in our awareness content, a small portion of the value we generate from that awareness content for any new site that links back to us is then funneled on to that sales-centric content piece. So while it is extremely difficult to get sales-centric content to rank, you can rank in the long term by investing in awareness content, getting links to that awareness content, and then linking to the sales-centric content from there. Now, the third type of content that we focus on is thought leadership content. Thought leadership content is perhaps the hardest to define out of the three. I like to describe it as unknown unknowns. And what I mean by that is thought leadership content is oftentimes going to be the type of content that your customers don't search for on search engines like Google because they don't even know that it's a problem that they should be searching for. So in the case of thought leadership content, maybe a couple of great examples that we could look at in there would be sharing a unique viewpoint on what is a really common issue with shaving that no one ever talks about, or that most people end up getting wrong when they're buying razor blades. It could be sharing predictions on a large shift that you believe you're going to see in your industry. Maybe it's saying, hey, here's how we think AI is going to impact the razor blade industry by 2030. Another way we can approach it is by collecting unique data points about your industry and sharing it as an industry report on your website. Now, with this thought leadership content, because so much of it is driven by topics that frankly just require a lot of expertise in your industry to even know that it's something that you can be searching for, there are not going to be many people looking for this online. The people that are looking for these particular themes are going to be seasoned experts in your space. So you're going to see a really minimal search volume, and you're likely not going to get people to this content directly from search engines. That being said, it can be a really phenomenal tool for growing your business if you can leverage, again, your awareness content to better promote this thought leadership content, or also if you can share it on various social media channels as a way of leveraging your value in the industry and getting people to share it on there. So specifically with thought leadership content, what we find works the best is if you can promote it within your awareness content, promote it via your newsletter, and then put some paid ad budget into promoting these types of pages on your site to get more qualified people to them. A good goal to approach this thought leadership content with is to say, we're not looking to get sales from it. We're not looking to get X number of readers per month to it, but rather we're looking to get this content seen by industry peers so that we can earn the respect and attention of those industry peers. In my experience, thought leadership content is the hardest to quantify success of. Really what you're doing is you're looking to earn trust from the people in your space that are most likely to share your content in the future, that are the most likely to link to your content, and the people that are really interested in learning about your industry, they're going to read this content or view these videos, realize that you're an expert in your space, and realize that they need to be coming back to your site on a recurring basis so they can learn more about what you have to share. So there you have it. Those are the only three types of content that you need to be creating for SEO: awareness content, sales-centric content, and thought leadership content.
You're listening to Customer Growth Sessions presented by Intergrowth, where we talk through strategies to help up-and-coming e-commerce businesses bring in more customers. I'm your host, Pat Ahern. Let's jump in.